Welcome to the Kettlebell Snatch. What the heck is a kettlebell snatch, right? You've probably heard of the infamous kettlebell swing, where that kettlebell is moving from behind you to in front of you, back and forth. Well, the kettlebell snatch is just like the crazy, weird, steroid-filled cousin of the kettlebell swing. And that kettlebell starts from the same position as the kettlebell swing, except now with the snatch, it's going to finish all the way overhead. Typically, makes that noise as well as you do it. Okay. Today, I'm going to demonstrate some of the key aspects of performing the perfect kettlebell snatch, and I'm going to walk you through that. But the main concept I want you to remember with the kettlebell snatch is that kettlebell is going to be moving from a position of your hips to overhead in one explosive movement. And remember, if you've done a kettlebell swing before, that's going to be really helpful, because the way that we load up the kettlebell to bring it overhead is going to be the same exact position as we used for the kettlebell swing, making sure to use that good hip hinge position. Now, when I'm starting off with the kettlebell snatch, I actually like to demonstrate it from the ground. Sadly, when many people begin a kettlebell snatch, they'll pick up the kettlebell first and they'll kind of get this not so great backswing and try to just kind of force their way up with that kettlebell, okay? Instead, I want you to start from the ground, okay? I want you to load up that kettlebell on your hips really well before we take it all the way overhead. So, from here, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center that kettlebell on my body. And I'm going to step back about 1.5 feet from that kettlebell so that I can gain some momentum from its starting position, as opposed to starting with it direct underneath me, because I really can't swing it back that much. From here, feet are going to be shoulder width, toes are straight ahead, my heels are down. I'm going to set up my knees and hips now. I'm going to spread the floor apart with my feet, so from the front, it'll look like this. I'm going to put this tension outwards on the outside of my legs. Okay, this is going to create some torque from my hips. As I bend at my hips, I'm going to maintain a nice, flat, neutral spine. My head's going to come with me, so I'm not going to have my head cranked out up here. With my hips low, I'm going to reach out with my dominant hand. That's how I'm going to start with this one. My arm is going to be fully extended. I'm going to wrap my thumb and fingers around nice and tight on that kettlebell. I don't want my knuckles out right here. I don't want my wrists bent, but I'm going to have my wrist straight, knuckles pointed down, and from here I'm going to tilt it back. This is a very key component of this, because to start out, we don't want to have to tilt and then swing. I want you to already have that tilted back, mostly because it doesn't take any extra muscle action to kind of hold that in place. From here, I'm going to take in a nice deep belly breath, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swing it back behind me as far as I can go. Remember, we're going straight back. We're not swinging it down, but back. Once I've swung it back, I'm going to stand up as powerfully as I can, extending my hips, squeezing my glutes, and I'm going to guide this kettlebell from the backward position to overhead in one explosive movement. Belly breath, swing behind, explode forward and up, catch it in the fully extended arm position. When you catch it in the upright position, you want to make sure that your arm is in line with your ear. So from the side, boom, got my shoulder blades back. What we don't want to do is catch it from your arm being out in front of your face. Now, I'm going to talk about something that's really key as far as the kettlebell snatch goes and how we catch it so you don't beat up your wrists. This is one of those components a lot of people overlook. They assume, I guess I don't really have to hold that up there, but a lot of people assume that you have to slam your wrist all the time and kettlebells suck because they always hit your wrists, especially doing snatches. Not the case. Okay? I'm going to show you exactly how to do that from that top position. I'm going to bring you back up there and we're going to talk about it. But what I'm going to talk about is allowing that kettlebell to roll off your wrist. Here's one of the most common problems you'll see, which is the opposite of letting it roll off your wrist. It usually involves, rather than a more upward swing, it's more of an outward swing, and that kettlebell ends up coming up over the wrist and slamming right on top. I'll give you a look at this. This is the one I don't want you to do, but I want you to see what it looks like. From here, I'm going to set up the same way, grab the center of the handle, tilt it back, take in my breath, swing it back behind the hips. This time, I went out in front of my body, I let it guide out, I call it kind of the half moon position, if you will, let it guide out. Then the only way I can stop it is by locking my arm out and letting that kettlebell flip over the top and slam into my wrist. That does not feel good at all. You'll probably end up like hating the kettlebells and getting this bad idea. I don't want you to do that because kettlebells are great, okay? So what I do want you to work on is allow this kettlebell to roll off your wrist. Sorry, our floor in here is like slants down. Okay, you're gonna let it roll off your wrist, let it swing back and come on up. If you're uncomfortable going from this fully overhead position, I want you to bring it down to your shoulder first, also known as the rack position. Keep your elbow tucked in nice and tight, forearm vertical. You want to have your wrist nice and straight. And then from here, you can also let it roll off. Same thing in the up position. Once you learn how to let it roll off from the top position, you're going to learn how to let it roll on in the up position. Notice, with my version of the kettlebell snatch, because the kettlebell's not swinging way out here in front of me, it's swinging right here. I usually try to keep that kettlebell probably about a foot distance in front of my chest. Here's what it looks like. The closer you keep that kettlebell to your center of gravity, the easier it's going to be to move it, okay? Not only is that going to help, but also performing a really powerful backswing. Another common thing that I see when people are trying to perform this kettlebell snatch, you got to remember, we're taking this kettlebell from the hips all the way to overhead. If your backswing pattern isn't powerful, or if you're stopping that kettlebell early, you're not going to get it overhead very easily. Here's an example of that. Let's say I set up everything the same way, but now I'm only going to let it swing halfway back, which a lot of people tend to literally stop the kettlebell before they bring it overhead, and it'll look like this. Right? I still got it overhead, but it took a lot more for me to do so. It also looked a little more choppy. It didn't look as smooth. I think it's really important that we let that kettlebell swing all the way back as far as we can let it go. Yes, it's okay if your forearm hits the inside of your leg. I know it might be awkward, but let it go there because you're allowing it to load up. Okay, think of it like a slingshot where you're pulling that sucker back before you launch it. You don't want to kind of pull it halfway because it's just going to kind of right over top, right? You want to launch that sucker, set it up, lead with the hips, boom. Stand up powerfully, extend the hips, extend that arm overhead, guide that kettlebell about a foot in front of your body, and then last, and the last but the most important cue that I love out of this one is to punch the ceiling, okay? The third thing that I see most commonly after the kettlebell rolling on or smacking the wrist, the other one, not swinging it back far enough. The third one is going to be finishing with that kettlebell in this position. A lot of people, when they're learning the snatch, they end up turning the kettlebell into more of a push press or a press, and it kind of looks like this. Okay? I had to press out that last little bit. And so as you're guiding the kettlebell up, what I want you to think about is guide it up, extend your hips, because the majority of the power from this movement is actually coming from the hips, not from the arms. Okay, sorry to burst the bubble. Fully extend those hips as you drive it up and punch the ceiling. Keep that momentum going until that arm is locked out. Again, look like this. Should always finish in that fully extended overhead position, and it should be nice and smooth, especially once you got that rolling position. Man, I just love sound effects today. I don't know why. Make sure you use them. It makes it fun, and it actually adds some power to the movement. If you don't believe me, just try it for yourself. Okay? But that's all I got for you today. That was the kettlebell snatch. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you use it in your program. This has been John Chacon with Snohomish County Strength. Take care. Stronger every day. Peace.